Katie Porter, back when Dodd-Frank was being fashioned, Katie Porter was, I believe, she was not an academic, but she was involved in banking in some way. And I know she was like writing about this stuff. I think she had worked under, or she had studied under Elizabeth Warren. And here is Katie Porter posting a video to Twitter explaining how, not so much how the Silicon Valley Bank got to this point, but how it got to this point without regulators knowing about it. There's two elements to this. The stuff that SBV did that was messed up, and the stuff that Congress and Trump did that essentially said, we're not going to look at the stuff you're doing until you reach a certain threshold.
When we talk about who's ultimately responsible, sadly, one of the answers here is Congress. And here's why. In 2017, after Trump was elected, a group of senators decided they wanted to weaken the banking laws that were put into place after the last financial crisis. And so there was a bill, it's called Senate Bill 2155, and it was named for the Idaho senator that pushed for it, the Crapo bill. And what it did was say, the very biggest banks, you have to keep a lot of cushion in case there's a problem. But this next batch of big banks, we're going to make you keep less cushion. We're going to loosen the capital holding requirement, the cushion that you have to have. And at the time, a number of people, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, I was a law professor at the time, just a candidate for Congress. I posted sent out a press release on this. I posted on Twitter about this. I said, don't do it. Don't loosen the capital holding requirements for these banks. I know they look medium size compared to Wells Fargo and Bank of America, but they are still huge banks that could destroy our ecosystem, like cause real contagion and real problems in the financial system. But lo and behold, Republicans didn't listen, and a lot of Democrats didn't listen either. And there were like 10 or 15 Democrats who voted with Republicans to weaken the capital holding requirements on these medium-sized, so-called medium-sized banks. As we're seeing with Silicon Valley Bank, even a so-called medium-sized bank is huge and can cause all kinds of problems.
So there it is. I mean, look, there are two stories here, right? There's what was going on at this bank and banks like it that put it in jeopardy. But at the end of the day, that's just a story for business reporters if we still have the regime that existed in 2017, because it does not become such a big problem because the FDIC steps in beforehand. Something's flagged. You don't get away with this stuff. And here we are.
Yeah. They didn't have because they said that, we're too small. This is too burdensome on us. You shouldn't be treating us like we're a big bank. Don't subject us to these liquidity requirements or to this kind of increased oversight, these checks. Just trust us. And Republicans and 17 Democrats were happy to do it. And here we are. And that paired with the Fed interest rate hikes, which, makes sense that he's basically a bipartisan Fed chair as well, Powell.
Right. Actually, one note on Katie Porter, because we haven't really talked about this, but she has been doing outreach she went on a trip with a bunch of other Democrats and, among other things, met with Netanyahu.
Yep.
And I do think it'd be nice to throw a little bit of chin music. Like, that stuff is not acceptable. And her project there needs to be nipped in the bud.
I mean, it is incredibly cynical, and it is clearly like, how does she avoid the AIPAC onslaught that she knows that it's coming?
It's fine to pivot to being a little bit more pro-Israel to stave that off. not acceptable to be singing Netanyahu's praises specifically.
Super gross.
I like she did not need to go that far, and I think that people should seriously consider Barbara Lee in that primary. But like, I'm not in California, but that's just something to note. And also, like, I do think that the reports about how she treats her staff are another piece of information that you can take.